Cloudstreet by Tim Winton. Omen or Inspiration. A blog post written and narrated by Robert Fairhead from the Tall and True writers' website. In May 1992, I returned to Australia for a holiday from England, where I'd been living and working for several years. At the time, the literary news in Sydney was full of the success of Tim Winton and his novel Cloudstreet, and I thought it was an omen. Winton was 31 years old and I was 30. He had grown up in Western Australia, or WA, and so had I. He had just won his second Miles Franklin Literary Award for Australian writers, and I'd quit my job in England and was about to have a second crack at being a writer. Among mementos from this period, I have a yellowed newspaper cutting from the Sydney Morning Herald, dated Wednesday, 27th of May. Under the headline, Winton finds selling the hard part, Winton, who was on a book-selling tour in America, confides, "Don't let anyone tell you writing or winning awards is the hard work. This part, the promotion, is the hard work." My travel diary from then also has several entries about Winton and Cloudstreet. On the 7th of June, I went for an evening stroll along Bondi Beach and browsed in a bookshop, where I found a copy of the book, though I'd merely commented in the diary, bought Cloudstreet by Tim Winton, a WA author. On the 25th of June, visiting family in Perth, WA, I wrote, "Didn't sleep well overnight. Mind racing with Cloudstreet. My short story, England, the future and past, etc." I wrote short stories almost every day back then. And on the 28th of June, my last night in Perth, I recorded in my diary, "Finished Cloudstreet." The ending has a similar mystical feel to Ben Okri's The Famished Road, the 1991 Man Booker Prize winner I'd read before Cloudstreet. Doubt I'll ever be able to write as well as either author. Still, hope springs eternal. Note to latter-day writer self, stop using cliches. Finally, on the 29th of June, before heading to the airport for my flight to England, I asked my father to drop me in town, and later noted, "Walked through Hay Street Mall to bookshops. Found more Tim Winton books, but not the one I wanted." I was searching for his first Miles Franklin winner, Shallows. I returned to England, returned to writing, and didn't get published. But I did find Winton's Shallows, and I built a collection of his books over the years, in England, and eventually back in Australia. It may not have been an omen that Winton and Cloudstreet were on the news in 1992. However, I found the connections between Winton and me, his characters and setting in the book, and my background in Perth, mystical. And I enjoyed his colloquial Australian dialogue and narrative. Cloudstreet inspired me to keep reading Winton's books, and keep writing. Hi, I'm Robert Fairhead from Tall and True Short Reads and the Tall and True writers' website. I received Tim Winton's The Shepherd's Hut for my 56th birthday in 2018. Given my long affection for Winton's works, dating back to Cloudstreet in 1992, was the book another omen or more inspiration? Perhaps both, because it inspired me to write this blog post in March 2018. I was pleased I'd kept the Sydney newspaper cutting, slipped inside my copy of Cloudstreet, and enjoyed digging out my diary entries for my trip to Australia in 1992. It was tempting to reread Cloudstreet, but I've done this with other books I loved as a 20-something, only to be disappointed by them as a 50-plus-year-old. One of these was The Great Gatsby. So I didn't reread Cloudstreet when I wrote the blog post in 2018. However, recently I listened to an audiobook version of Cloudstreet, narrated by Peter Hoskin, and again felt the joy I had reading my paperback back in 1992. And laughed aloud when Hoskin voiced Oriole Lamb's stern reminder to her family, "Remember, we're lambs, not sheep." By the way, it took me 12 months to work through my towering to-be-read pile and reach The Shepherd's Hut. But when I finished reading it, I shared another blog post on Tall and True about the book, aptly titled, "Tim Winton Wows Again." In the post, I observed Winton's writing was in another league to mine in 1992, and still is today. And how when I finished reading the last sentence of The Shepherd's Hut, I exhaled the breath I'd held for the final paragraph and exclaimed, "Wow." I hope you enjoyed Cloudstreet by Tim Winton, Omen or Inspiration. You can read this and all my blog posts, short stories and other writing at tallandtrue.com. You can also buy my short story collections from the Amazon Kindle and Kobo online bookstores. Links are available in the show notes. The next episode of Tall and True Short Reads will be in your podcast feed shortly. In the meantime, please check your feed or the podcast website, tallandtrueshortreads.com, for earlier episodes from seasons 1 and 2, and follow or subscribe to the podcast and rate and review it via your favourite app. Doing so helps me share my writing and memories with other listeners. You can support this podcast by making a small one-off or regular donation via the Acast supporter page. You'll find a link in the show notes. And finally, please tell your family and friends about Tall and True Short Reads and the Tall and True Writers website.